Hey, my name is Jeff. Thanks for taking the time to watch our video. We're asking for your help in bringing our swing project to Bolivia. Last year, my friends and I hung swings all across San Francisco, and the reception was just incredible. Kids and adults were lined up trying to use them before we even finished tying the rope. We came through the next day to interview people, and they talked about how using it altered their day, how the joy they felt permeated their afternoon and was contagious to those they met. People wrote us in the weeks that followed, really reinforced the idea that we'd accidentally done something wonderful, that it affected an exponential number of people. Since then, friends and I have hung swings in the Marshall Islands, Panama, and recently in Los Angeles thanks to a generous grant from the Awesome Foundation. What started out as a humble conversation over a coffee table has turned into a multi-city, multi-country experiment in random acts of kindness. We've documented the process each time, realizing its importance more and more, because this project is about the dissemination of joy and love and propagating the idea that anyone can create and spread happiness through this overlooked and simplistic means. The pleasure felt from participating is as contagious as the swinging itself, but you need media to really express that. One swing only does so much. This trip's about taking that project to the next level, keeping our momentum going and expanding on the scope of the endeavor. Not just hanging a swing or two, but meeting the community one-on-one, interacting. It's about finding the intersection of basic joy we're trying to create with where it resonates among the people we're creating it with. This is about meeting travelers and bringing them into the fold so that they can take these lessons and experiences with them on the road back to their homes. Nearly as important, or at least it seems so, it's about documenting the process and the journey so that we can best share it with the world and inspire others to create more random acts of kindness like this. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen. Please, help us make this happen by backing this project.
Please, oh please, my soul be free and spread my ashes across the sea. Take your name off of my name so you can marry again. Across the west, beneath the sky, lay me down in the far and wide. Know that I'll be satisfied farther out in the far and wide. Farther out in the far and wide. Farther out in the far and wide.
We were all sick immediately after landing in La Paz. The airport's at about 13,000 feet and changed. And with no time to acclimate coming straight off the plane, we were immediately stricken with the altitude sickness. Within a couple of days, we got enough energy to go out and explore, and we were able to get our first swing hung.
Up on the sun, this time tomorrow, fly, walk or run, but this time no sorrow. First up, Jackson.
One. Many more to go.
Yep.
We spent a few days in La Paz getting used to the elevation, and we got a bunch of swings hung. But pretty much just as we had actually gotten somewhat acclimated to being there, we set out to uni.
Just finished a 10-hour bus ride? 10? 10 and a half?
I got here 7, left at 9, yeah.
Yeah, 10.5-hour bus ride across one of the sketchier roads I've ever been on. Sketchy was just totally unpaved.
Not well designed.
¿Cómo te llamas?
So just so you know, we're making a movie about hanging swings.
Yeah.
So we are going to be like doing that a lot, and we're going to go slow at a lot of times.
No, that's okay. That's the
pictures.
reason that we are leaving early. Yeah, no
Okay,
worries, man.
perfect.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
We're gonna have enough time.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had to have guides up in the Andes, just because when you're going through the salt flats up there, there's really no way to access them if you don't have somebody who has a vehicle and actually knows where you're going. Because it is immense. We are at some sort of national park. The important thing to note is we're up just a little above 14,000 feet in the Andes, and you get a lot of wind exposure there, so it's really, really cold. idea that there were drunken-looking squirrels and flamingos here.
Yeah. There's been a lot. That's
Drunken
There's been a
squirrel.
lot of surprises on
That
this
squirrel
ride.
looks stoned.
It was a rabbit with a tail.
But it wasn't until we actually got down into some of the towns as we were exiting that we ran into some swings that we could really put up that had a purpose. When we got to San Cristobal, we saw this swing set that was empty of swings. We hung up these 2 swings, and the rope, because it was this crappy plastic, it coiled up on itself, and the swings didn't really sit low enough for the kids to be able to get back on them. And this is something we hadn't experienced anywhere. I hadn't done anything like this in the States or in other countries. And we hadn't, up until this point, experienced it in Bolivia. Basically, any swing set that we would come across from then on didn't have any swings in it. They'd all been rusted through or cut down, repurposed. This was the first time that we did something that felt like it had some genuine purpose within a community.
He's building. You see him put the rock down to stand on it? Yeah. He's using it.
You know, up until that point, we'd hung up a lot of these vanity type swings that were, you know, neat to do and fun to play on, but in terms of real traction or community interaction, they were lacking.
So where are you? What?
We are actually
What are you
at the
doing?
name of the church, El Calvario, which followed the Stations of the Cross all the way up here from town. We didn't realize until we got here that they were graves.
Yeah. We had these cool little dog escorts come around with us.
They followed us the whole way up.
Playing the fleas.
The church showed up just about the right time. It was starting to rain pretty bad.
Yeah, we were getting hot.
Sat here to wait it out, and then once it opened up, wandered down that way. We spent the next week trekking through the Yungas. You know, these dogs followed us on this hike. We didn't ask them to, they just picked us up on the trail and followed us all the way up to this waterfall and all the way back down. And then hopped off where we picked them up. There was such a personality shift, you know, working our way through the Yungas, one sleepy little mountain town to the next. I think the high elevations of the Andes can run people a little bit ragged, and the city's the city. But down here, you know, it was quiet. Everything was a little bit tranquil. So it looks like, we'll check it out when we go to look at it. It looks like there's little loops there.
No, there totally are. So really, we just
Just a nice cool line. So we can hike for kids.
I might be wrong, but I might be right. Anyhow, I know I tried. I better leave. I better leave. I better stop. I like the taste when
Going into this, you think you're hanging swings in unexpected places. You know, that's what the project had started out as, and that's what it was supposed to be when we got to Bolivia. But every town we went to had a playground, and not one of those playgrounds had swings in it. It was unexpected, but turned out to be one of the most fulfilling parts of our experience.
silly boys, you ran away. You're all
You know, anytime we tried to goad an adult onto a swing, you know, the idea being stateside that, hey, remember you did this like 20 years ago. Remember how much fun it was. But you don't have that in Bolivia, because 20 years ago they weren't on a swing. You know, they were probably working, and before that, there weren't any swings anyway, as evidenced by the completely dilapidated and empty playgrounds we kept coming across. So, you know, it ended up being a very kid-centric trip, which is cool, because one thing those kids aren't afraid to do is ask for more, which is pretty validating when you hang one swing and a bunch of them crowd around and they ask you to please install a second one right there next to it. It feels good. that branch look? It's alive enough.
I got this. I like this one.
Yeah, it's a good swing.
River swings.
River swings. Great stuff.
Yeah?
Like a dog, never get over the way I unfold. I'm a little garçon in my head with a little feel.
Down in the Amazon is where we were really able to start hanging some good swings. You know, up in the mountains, you have limited space in terms of an area where you can kind of get out and stretch your legs. Everything's at an angle. But here we had flat ground, big trees, wide open spaces. We hung some really nice swings around the towns there.
Little feelings looking back. Oh, I get tall, never get over the way I unfold. I'm a little garçon in my head with the little feelings looking back.
We got caught in this pretty awful storm. We holed up in a gazebo with about 10 other locals. And we were stuck in there for about a half an hour before we realized that we had a bag full of swing materials. And the rain wasn't showing any signs of stopping, so we hung up a swing on the edge of the gazebo. And the kids just went nuts playing in it. They kind of gave up on staying dry, shoving each other out into the rain. It was a nice way to spend the time, considering we were there for about 2.5 hours. We finished up at this hilltop swing set overlooking the park. When we hung up those last few swings, we thought it might be kind of anticlimactic, and there was no one around. But later that night when we came back, we found out that the whole town comes out of that park at night, and it had turned into this huge scene when they discovered the swings we'd hung. It was the perfect way to end our month in Bolivia.
¿Se mira? No.